quite a few things in the sustainability movement that we do not all agree on, such as who should champion the lead in all of this. Should it be businesses? Should it be governments? How should we go about climate change? Can it be accomplished under capitalism? There are a lot of things that we cannot agree on, okay? Everyone has different perspectives and different approaches to this lifestyle, which is fine, as long as you're advocating for the planet, in my opinion. But there's one thing about sustainable living that nobody can seem to come to a consensus on, and that is if living sustainably is more expensive or not. But regardless of if you find sustainable living more expensive or more affordable for you, there's one thing that we cannot argue with, and there are quite a few things that you can do to live more sustainably that are completely free. And so today I wanted to share some of those free things with you. So let's hop into it. Number one is not only free, requires you to buy absolutely nothing. It is probably one of the most impactful things that an individual person can do when the entire population contributes, adds up to be a lot and have one of the biggest impacts, I think. And that is to vote. Please, please, please vote. To be informed as to what's going on, not just in national elections, but in your local elections. Admittedly, this is something that I'm not super good at, and that's largely because I've moved a lot since I graduated college. I also have a job that is very, very demanding of my time. But every single time I do have to vote, whether it be for the state elections, local elections, national elections, obviously get the most press. But no matter which of those it is, I do my best to look at all the candidates and decide which of them will advocate for what I believe in the most, and also advocate for other people that are not quite as privileged as me in the world. Personally, I have 2 litmus tests that someone has to meet for me to vote for them. Well, assuming there is a candidate that stands for this, because sometimes there's just not even a candidate that stands for this. But number 1 is repealing the act that made corporations people and gave them autonomy and said that corporations giving money to politicians is speech. I think that has corrupted the entire system and has led to so many issues in American politics. And number 2, obviously you have to believe in climate change and say that you will implement measures to move towards improving the state of the world in terms of our climate. Take advantage of the civil liberty that you have to even be able to do that, because some people around the world don't have the same privileges. So please, please, please do your research on the candidates that are not just in your federal elections, also in your local ones, and vote. It's free. The second thing you can do to help the planet for free today is to download the search engine called Ecosia. If you guys haven't heard of Ecosia before, I would be really surprised, because I've talked about them before. I know they run ads on this channel, and I'm a huge, huge fan of them. They've been linked in my description box for years. Ecosia, in simple terms, is what you can think of as the eco-friendly version or tree planting version of Google. Basically, all you have to do is go down to the link in the description, download Ecosia, put it on your browser, and start searching with Ecosia. And what's going to happen is Ecosia earns ad revenue from ads that you click on when you search things, and they use 80 to 100% of that ad revenue, depending on the month, to plant trees. Obviously, I think it's super cool that just by doing what you do on a daily basis anyway, using the internet to search things, you can plant trees. And obviously planting trees helps with climate change, gives us oxygen, takes CO2 out of the atmosphere, all that good stuff. But Ecosia is a better search engine over others for other reasons as well. They're completely carbon neutral, and I think actually they might even be carbon negative at this point. They take extensive measures to protect your privacy, they don't store your search history, and Ecosia themselves encrypts all of your searches. I'm super excited to be partnering with them right now because Ecosia is approaching planting 100 million trees. They're on track to hit that this week as you're watching this video. So I would love if my audience could join in and help them reach that milestone just by going to download Ecosia with the link in the description for completely free. If you do use the personal link that they gave me in the description, it's going to help me track how many trees we are able to plant as a community. And also, we've already planted hundreds of trees because I've worked with them in the past, and like I said, their link has been in my description box forever. Okay. Funny little joke here. Ecosia actually got the numbers wrong of what my audience, me, and all of you guys, how many trees we've planted over the last couple years of me working with Ecosia. It's not some few hundred. It's 43,000. So people who have already downloaded Ecosia with my link over the years, we've planted that many trees. That's a massive contribution to the 100 million milestone. my mind is blown. So thank you guys so much for everyone who has already downloaded it. If you haven't already, definitely join that number so that I can keep track of how many trees we've been able to plant as a community. And I just needed to break in here and let you know that, because that's amazing. So I'm very excited to share Ecosia with the rest of you, for my audience who have not already joined in on the super cool search engine. Definitely check them out. They're a super transparent company, which I personally love. I know a lot of companies make claims that they're doing all these great things, but Ecosia publishes their financial reports to the public every single month. Fully stand behind Ecosia. Could not love them more. Hope every single person watching this video goes and gives them a download, because this is like the best sponsor in the whole wide world, and it's completely free. And I really appreciate it when you guys support my sponsors, and obviously it helps the planet. Whole point of this video. Okay, let's move on to the next thing you can do for free to help the planet. So the next thing you can do to help the planet for free is free, but it does take a little bit of your time, which is why it's not something I have been super involved in the past, but it is to get involved in your community. And that looks like different things for everybody. That can look like joining a local cleanup in your neighborhood, or maybe starting a cleanup in your neighborhood. That can look like going to city council meetings. That can look like so many different things, but finding people that you share common interests with in your neighborhood or in your city is really, really beneficial for obvious just like social happiness reasons, but also for helping the planet. When people band together, they're able to make a bigger change. Obviously. For me, this also includes like writing or calling your representatives, which is getting involved in your community and actively doing something to make change, which is something that I have been able to do over the years, because it doesn't take much time like some of these other things can. If you are not able to like do all these other things that require investments up front sometimes that are better for the planet, etc., look for ways that you can get involved in making change that costs you nothing. And that's definitely somewhere to get started. Next up, similarly to writing or calling your representatives, is to write to brands that you purchase from. I've talked about this before. I find it to be super important, and also almost every time I've written a brand with a concern, they have personally gotten back to me and told me how this feedback is really valuable and they're going to work to improve what my concerns are. These days, brands are listening because of things like social media, and when brands fuck up and they do things wrong, they are being held accountable. So a lot of times when you're writing to them, they are taking in that feedback and they are making changes accordingly. So try to make that a habit, not only to write to the brands when you don't like something they're doing, but also to take the time to leave them reviews when they are doing something good and you fully stand behind the sustainability and the ethics behind their brand, because that helps people find that brand when you actually leave reviews. Much like when you leave a like on this video, it helps people find this video. So can you stop right now and do a thumbs up for me? Next thing you can do that's completely free is a little bit of a nuanced one, but is to be informed. Being informed is a really powerful tool as a consumer in knowing what certifications are helpful to brands when you're supporting them, knowing the most updated science when it comes to climate science, plastic pollution, all those sort of things, so that when people ask you about it, you are informed, and so that you are voting with the information that you know. Doing the research to know those sort of things is completely free and can help you weigh your options when something is more expensive, to know if it's even worth it to spend more on. In some circumstances, the more expensive option may not even be worth it, because maybe you personally know the footprint of avocados that have to travel so far, and so you know that they're not so great for the environment because of their greenhouse gas footprint. Even though it's more expensive and it seems to be something that all vegans eat, you don't really need to buy it and you can save the money there. Being informed, doing your research is completely free to do in today's day and age with the internet, so definitely make sure you're doing that. To reuse. Reuse things in your home before you ever go out and buy something. Or just find ways to reuse fun things in your home, okay? I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on reuse, because I think a lot of people watching this video know that you should be doing it, and sometimes it can seem challenging to keep up with things in order to reuse them, or to be constantly finding new, fun, and actually useful ways to be reusing something. I get that, but reusing things is better for the planet, and it's completely free to reuse things you already have. My friend Emmy from Sustainably Vegan actually recently made a video of 100 ways to reuse. I don't know how she did that. Well, I do know how she did that. I helped her on some of those in the video. But my point is, I'll link her video below if you guys want some reuse ideas. And the whole point of this one in this video is that reusing is completely free and really helpful to the planet, because you're not buying anything new and you're not throwing anything out. Similarly with reusing, you can upcycle things, and these two are so similar, I'm not gonna spend a ton of time on it, but my point is that upcycling something that you already have into something new, again, Completely free to do. It might already be on my TikTok by the time this video goes up, so make sure you're following me on TikTok if you're not already. But I'll be upcycling a shoebox into a DIY projector. This is just something fun I saw on the internet and I wanted to give a try. So I'm going to be doing it for a TikTok video because that's my life now. I'm a TikToker. Upcycling is free, so when you say sustainability is expensive, do you know about these things? And like I said, I didn't want to spend too much time on reuse, on upcycling. I won't spend a ton of time on this one, although I think it is the most important thing to keep in mind, and it is to use what you already have until it is gone. It is completely free to use up what you already have instead of running out and buying the more expensive or more well-known or more aesthetic things for zero waste. I understand why these things are tempting. I understand why the Tiffins are cute and the glass straws are cute and the stasher bags, albeit them very useful, they're also really cute. I understand why people look at zero waste and go, I can't buy all that stuff, I can't afford to do that. And so that's why zero waste ends up being called expensive, whereas in reality, you should be using what you already have. Use up the Ziploc bags you have. Use up your plastic toothbrushes that you have stored under your sink. Use the plastic Tupperware you have, although not to put it in the microwave, please don't do that. But use up the things you already have and then replace them. You don't have to come to zero waste and spend all this money to buy all these things. I've been getting so many comments on TikTok that living sustainably is expensive, and in some ways I understand that like a bamboo toothbrush is often more expensive than a plastic one because plastic is made of oil, which is subsidized by our government and has so many other ethical and sustainable issues that are taking shortcuts. I digress. Please do not think that in order to start living a sustainable lifestyle, you have to throw this away to go and buy this, because that's not the case. This next one I'm talking about is the biggest reason living sustainably has saved me so much money. And it is because I basically stopped buying shit. I think I read the story of stuff, must have been in 2012, and I didn't allow myself to buy anything that wasn't secondhand, number one, until I paid off all of my loans from college, which I did in 2017. I basically did a no buy for 5 years. The first thing you should do when you want to start living a sustainable lifestyle is conduct a no buy, either for a month, for a year, 5 years, whatever it takes to make you realize that as soon as you get the inkling that you need to buy something, you process that and realize that you actually don't. America is a society built on people who do not have the money to own the things that they do, and they put those things on credit cards and get themselves into really hard places for things that they don't need. I'm just going to speak from personal experience that I racked up a credit card in my teens that was upwards of 5 figures for things I could not repeat to you what any of them were because I didn't need any of them. Even people who do not have the money to be consuming, the reality is that in the United States, they are, because we value capitalism and consumerism over most things in this country. And so likelihood is you watching this, you also live in a consumerist society and are used to buying things at a whim. First thing you do when you come to a sustainable lifestyle should be to stop buying things, because the most sustainable thing is the thing that you already have. Did you know that 44%, nearly half of all junk mail, goes straight to the landfill? And did you know that that results in 51 million metric tons of greenhouse gases a year? Yeah, it's ridiculous. So another free thing you can do to help the planet literally right now is stop your junk mail. I have a whole video on how to stop your junk mail. I'll link it below and I'll link it up here too. I know this is the best solution if you live in the US. I've heard that other people just put like a no junk mail sticker on their mailbox, but I feel like that just results in things getting thrown out. It doesn't stop the junk mail from being produced. I'm always talking about how we need to stop the stuff at the beginning instead of at the end. So actually getting yourself removed from those lists is what's going to be best for the planet. I recommend just calling or using the databases that can get you removed from those lists, but stopping your junk mail is completely free and it's going to help the planet immensely from the data I just gave you. Next up, we've got a handful of things about clothes, and the first one is to wash your clothes less. I really want to know in the comments right now, do you wash your jeans after you wear them once? Do you wash shirts after you wear them once? Do you wash almost anything after you wear them once? Because I don't. When I was a kid, my parents would literally only wear the items that they were wearing one time and throw them into the washer, and I thought that was normal. And apparently, most people don't do that. And I'll tell you one thing, after folding my parents' underwear and socks for freaking years, when I started doing my own laundry and just my laundry, you bet your ass I was never washing something after I wore it once. Who wants to do laundry that often? Obviously, not washing your clothes as often as every single time you wear them is going to cut down on the amount of times you have to wash your clothes, and this saves money in so many different ways, right? Your water bill, your electricity bill, your detergent bill, all of these things will be cut significantly if you wash your clothing less. It also helps your clothing last longer because the machines can be kind of hard on a lot of our clothes, and so washing them less is a lot better for the planet, saves you money, and it's better on your clothes, which in turn saves you money too. I think you guys know that when we moved into this new house, I started hang drying my clothes and have not stopped singing the praises of that because it's something I wanted to do for so long, but didn't have the space and could not be more grateful for my space over there to air dry our clothes. That is completely free. I mean, there are ways to hack it to where you can just like hang up something that you have, you can hang it around your house. There are ways to do it where you can do it for completely free. But the actual act of hang drying your clothes is free. Sometimes you have to buy a rack or a line. So I've really liked doing this because it helps maintain the shape of my clothes, and because obviously not using your dryer is going to result in you using less electricity, less greenhouse gas emissions, and save you money overall. Next two kind of go hand in hand, and it is either hand-me-downs, borrowing clothing from your friends or family, and clothing swaps. These are all ways of getting clothing without having to buy absolutely anything and reusing clothes that somebody already had, didn't want, etc. Before coronavirus started, I had every intention of teaming up with Sustainably Sage on Instagram, and we were gonna start a clothing swap here in San Antonio, and now the virus is here and we don't want to do that right now. But those are really fun things to get involved in, and they are completely free. These next few are ways to prevent food waste that cost you absolutely nothing, and the first one in this section is to utilize your freezer. I feel like there are so many ways to utilize your freezer to stop food waste. If something's going bad, throw it in the freezer. If you want to be able to have stuff readily available so it doesn't go bad, put it in the freezer. If you want to store your compost, which is completely free, storing compost, doing a compost completely free, store it in the freezer. So many ways you can utilize your freezer to reduce food waste. There are several foods that you can regrow from scraps, and that's completely free to do, and obviously helping the planet as well. Next up is to walk places, okay? I don't include biking places because in order to bike places, you have to own a bike, which is not free, but walking, I'm pretty sure, is free. Especially if you live in Texas, I understand the struggle of not being able to walk a lot of places. I personally can walk to my HEB, which is a blessing. Walking is completely free and no greenhouse gases are associated with it, so better for the planet. This next one I wanted to talk about because I think a lot of people don't know this exists, and I definitely know it's not utilized as often as it could be, so I wanted to discuss it, and that is drop-off recycling. So a lot of people tell me that they don't have recycling where they live, and I totally understand this. It's been a while since I've had to deal with this, and I would be so frustrated if that was still my situation. But where I grew up, we didn't have recycling, and my mom claims they still don't. I think she's full of shit. I think they do now. But I grew up where I grew up, you know, for 18 years, I didn't have recycling. I moved to College Station where we did not have recycling in our apartments. We had to take the recycling to drop-off facilities, like household recycling of cardboard, glass, aluminum, and plastic that you can take to drop-off places. That's what I did in college, but I'm also referring to other ways that you can go to drop-off recycling bins that are much more widely available at places like Walmart, Whole Foods, Best Buy, all those sort of things. So you can go to just about any Walmart and get your soft plastics recycled, or if you live in Texas, you can go to HEB. They have drop-offs where you can take like thin plastics to be recycled. So I already did that in a vlog that you'll already have seen. I'm gonna link it right here. Go check it out. We took our plastic recycling, and Madison was very grateful. At Best Buy, you can recycle electronic waste, and at our Whole Foods, you can even recycle wine corks. All of these recycling drop-offs are completely free and definitely something you should take advantage of so that things aren't going to landfill as often. And last but not least, one of the greatest things you can utilize to be more friendly to the earth, stay informed, and not have to buy anything new is your library. You guys are always screaming at me to talk more about libraries, and I get it. I just don't personally like reading physical books. I really, really love audiobooks, so I'm always talking about how I use Audible. I do have a discount code with them. I'll leave it linked in the description. But if you do like reading physical books, the library is an amazing place. That is a resource that I think a lot of people forget about when they're buying books. And I know some people like to keep the books that they read for reference and stuff like that, but I think if you're being real with yourself, it's probably better to go and read the book at the library, and then if you decide it's actually worth buying the book, then you can do so. And the last thing I want to mention again is Ecosia, the free search engine that helps you plant trees. They're on track to plant 100 million trees, you guys. So if you didn't already download it with the link in the description at the beginning of this video, this is your reminder. Please go download Ecosia, start searching with them, and start planting trees. And if you use my link, I'll be able to track how many trees we've planted as a collective, which I'm very excited to see. You can be a part of that 100 million trees milestone, and it's completely free, like I already said. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what free things you think I should have added to this list. I hope I didn't forget anything super important. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.